but I realized I didn't show you query library and query templates. It's like on a fast load. So when we're in our queries, let me go to my quick query here. So when we're in our queries, let's say we built a really cool query that we love, and we want to be able to share that with people so they can have a starting point. We can save this query as a query template. So just like we learned yesterday, you can copy a query and save it. If you store it in the folder of templates and make sure it's shared, you can then share that template with others where they can have that as a starting point. So a good example would be, I don't know, a mailing query for ViewBooks. I don't know why I keep going to that, but ViewBook mailing query. So if this is my ViewBook mailing query, I can save that as a template and just call it like mailing query. And then others can copy that template, make adjustments to say, okay, well, now instead of addresses being in Tennessee, we want to see addresses in Tennessee, Kentucky, and New Jersey, or something like that. And they can adjust that template to then utilize for their query purposes. So if you save it in the templates folder, it will then be saved as a template. I'm going to just save this template. And then if I go into my queries, I have a templates folder, and I can grab that template and edit it. And then I can copy and change that template for my purposes. So query templates are going to be beneficial for you. The other thing that you can do is if you save it in, where is it? I think it's shared library. I got it right the first time. If you save it in the folder of shared and library, let me try to, I'm just going to clean this up because I don't want it to look overly ugly for you. Okay, so let's say I want to save just this Tennessee address export and the Tennessee address join. There we go. So let's say I want to save that join and the exports as something that I want my end users to always use. I can save this in the library of, where's it? Shared and library. If I save that, now because it's in my library, it's available for anybody to use. So if I do a quick query, and let's just say I start at the person base, just like my library was, and I come into exports, I should see, of course, now I don't. Oh, what the heck? This is one of those being slave things. Where's my library again? Template shared library, Tennessee addresses, library. It's gonna yell at me. Let me just delete this stuff. See, I'm going against my own rules and calling it 2.0, 2.0 new, 2.0 new, all of that. All right, so now if I go to my person base, go to query, export. It might need to refresh itself. Let me go to Jackson. Well, I was in Columbia earlier, and I don't have to multi-factor. All right, so in Columbia, I built some query libraries. So if we go into my folder of extravaganza, last group we can change the name because I not built query libraries for them. No, I did. There it is. So I built some query libraries for them. So once, I think it has to refresh itself, but once it saves and refreshes itself, you'll get a section at the top called library exports. So whatever base I started at, That's the base that it's going to reference in my query library. So here I built some query libraries for some student success. And these are student success fall 24. So instead of having to remember to do joins and things like that, I can export my information like semester GPA, residency, and status. I can export this information and hit save, and it already creates the join for me, so I don't have to remember to do it, and it allows me just to grab those exports. So this is really helpful for your end users. I'm going to pick on marketing. So let's say you're allowing marketing to go in and create emails, but you don't want them to, you don't want to have to train them on how to run a query. You don't want to have to train them on running a correct query, things like that. You can pre-build these exports and even pre-build filters that allow them to just drag them in from the library. It already has the joins, and all you have to do is tell them where to grab it from. So query library is going to be beneficial to you as well. So again, we may want to build a query library export of Tennessee address, Tennessee rank 1 overall mailing address, street, Tennessee overall rank 1 mailing address, city, state, zip, all of those exports. We may want to build a couple of filters to say Tennessee rank 1 mailing address exists. And then by building those, it will automatically put this join in, so they don't have to worry about doing that. They just have to go in, click on this specific fields or the specific filters that they want to use. And like this one, I created this filter called mobile phone number is in correct US format. So it's the, what is it, 3+3+2 type of a format. So if they are in a format, the correct format, then bring them in. If they're not, then don't bring them in. If I want people who are not in the correct format, I can say a not. So there are 2,271 people with not the correct phone number format. So just to show you quickly, the query library, query templates are going to be wildly beneficial to you going forward. Yeah, like this one, this phone number is not in the correct US format because it's 93, which is, I believe, England. And I think that's Buckingham Palace's phone number, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So just to show you that you can build query library query exports that are going to be good for your end users. All right. Reports. All right. So we talked about queries. Queries are searching the database for, yes.
Back to the library.
Yes.
So we have a library that we built, and it's in, Leah created it, and I can't see it.
Make sure that it's shared. So that's the first thing I would do. So let me go back to my queries, library 2.0, edit. So make sure it's shared with other users with query-based permissions. That would be the first thing. You may also, this is actually probably what I was running into. You may need to assign a realm to it if you're using realms. So if you're not using realms, don't worry about it. This is probably what I was running into.
So once it's in the library, though, you don't get like the big edit button.
It's in the query library. No, the end user, if they don't have access to edit the query library, then they're just going to start a new query. So, or sorry, a quick query. And then they're going to be dragging in from the export. I don't know why it's not working there. Let me go Columbia again. They're just going to drag in the exports or the filters. That's Jackson. Works from them too.
I think what you're saying is when you're looking at it in the query library, you have to go to edit permissions and add your role as a grantee or your specific user so you can see it and use it. I ran into that.
That could also be the case. So it could also be in your security where you don't have access to view that. So you may want to check your security as well.
Yeah, she had to add me before I could see it.
Yeah.
Because edit all the query.
Yeah, you don't have edit all
But
that.
we do.
I
It
do.
usually gives everything, but this one seems to be unique. Like you have to go and add the person with edit access, even though edit all usually means all.
That's interesting.
But it worked, so.
Yeah, so you may, like you said, you may have to add it just specifically to a person or to a role.
Because we
Yeah,
both have
mine's
all, so I
designer
can see the
too.
queries he's working on, but this must be different.
Yeah, good point on that. Let me actually go to my query library. That is probably into what I was running into. So edit permissions, add grantee. Let's just say role administrator.
You as a grantee, if you go into the library,
Let's see if I can see it now.
did a quick query.
I have a very serious.
Do the quick query.
Maybe I'm not an administrator.
Library expert. Yeah.
This is just stuff you built.
It worked when she gave me individual access.
Okay, I don't know why it's not working for me. I must have just done it too quickly, but yeah, so you'll just want to do edit permissions and add it to either a role or to a specific person. Good question, Matt, though. All right, let's jump into reports. So reports, compilation of multiple queries. So let's go to reports. One of the first things to notice on reports is there's nothing called quick reports like there are in queries. So when you create a report, you literally have to create it to start. So you have to create it, save it. It exists as a thing to start. So we're going to create a new report. TBR example. Yeah, right, yes. Best. I can change portrait or landscape on it. My preference is usually landscape just because people try to throw a lot in their reports and it gets really long. My first recommendation for reports is try to limit the number of columns that you're putting into your report. People will try to get really crazy and put like 50 different columns in, and it's going to get real squishy and you're not going to be able to see the names of the columns and your data is just not going to look right. So be a little conservative with it. Try not to get too crazy with everything you're going to be putting into one report, column wise. Also, the more stuff, and I hate using the word stuff, but the more stuff you put into your report, the longer it's going to take to run. So try to be a little more conservative with your reports. So I like to do it landscape, just again, it's easier to view versus a portrait. Just depends on what your end results you want it to be, and you can change this later. You can also change the colors. I've never really changed the colors, but you can do that too. All right, so now we have kind of the main page of our report. You'll notice two things. One, we have our parts. Let me just show that first. You have your parts. So a report is made up of multiple parts, and your parts are here on the right-hand side. It's your data or charts, data explorer, which is a pivot table, or a query. So we can throw in lots of these different things. I'm going to go real basic because we were just in the queries section. I'm going to add in a query part of query. Query example, we'll call it. This is where we have to, again, choose our base. We're always going to be configurable joins. That's my rule for you. And we're going to pull a base of person just for this one, for example. And just like we just built, we throw our exports in. We can throw filters in, joins, kind of everything. This is the exact same interface we were just playing with. So this is everything that you're used to. Then if we go back in the breadcrumbs, we can see this is our query example part. And if we go back one more page in our breadcrumbs, we can see in our query example, these are all the people we just exported. Pretty basic, right? So we just built a query. Now we're just displaying that query on the report. So now if I wanted to, I could export this to a PDF. Be slow on me. There it is. Okay. And I can give this to my dean, VP, president, whatever, and they can get a list. Just because I built a very simple list of people in our instance. But now let's say we want to get a little bit more wild here. So let's edit our report again. We can add in another part. First, let me make this a little bit shorter. I don't want 43 people. That's cleaner. All right. So now I'm going to edit my report. Let's add another part. So this was I'm going to rename this to query person example. The nice thing about reports is you can have multiple queries on it with different scopes. So maybe this part right here is just a list of all the people that I have in my instance. And maybe I just want to report for a query part here of query app example. So maybe this is going to be my base of application because I want to show how many apps we have, and we have 22 apps.
Screenshot.
So let's join from our application back to our person table because maybe we want person information. And I'm going to export their ref, their first, their last, and some application information. Maybe I want to throw in their round, their status. I don't know what else. Their campus, their admit type. It's good enough for now. Okay, so now I'm getting some application information and go back to my main page. Here's my person example. These are just the mails that I have in my system. And here's my app example. So these are all the people with applications, and it's showing me their name, their round that they applied in, their application status. Some of these people are awaiting submission. This person's decided. We can see their admit type. Their admit type is deferred or standard in our instance. So we can get different information in different sections. And what I'm doing now is just showing you examples of what we can do as parts. Next, we'll make it a little more relevant. So these are query parts. We can throw a Data Explorer in, which is a pivot table. And let's make it, I'm going to go real basic and we'll make it person scoped. We can throw our exports in. So what do we want to show in our pivot table? Maybe we want to show sex, race, and let's throw Hispanic in here, wherever that is, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Hispanic. Continue. Right. So now we can throw our data, edit our data explorer, and we can either allow the end user to edit or not allow our end user to edit. So let's just allow them to. So now we have our example pivot table, and we can throw our parts in. So maybe we want to show the breakdown of sex and race. So how many people are American Indian Alaskan Native that are female? We have 1. How many people are that are Asian that are male? We have 1. We have 2 people that are white female and 1 person that's a white male. So now we can have some additional information in here. Let's throw Hispanic over here. So now we can see the number of people who are Hispanic, but also American Indian, Native American, and female. So pivot tables are going to be pretty cool to have in here too. So I'll show you what that looks like on the main page. So now we have our query person example, just lists a bunch of people, and each of these are independent entities. So any filtering we do here does not affect the filtering that goes on here, which does not affect the filtering that goes on here. So this is where it's really beneficial to have it for your cabinet or your president or your deans or something like that, where they get this information on a frequent basis. Maybe it's every Monday, maybe it's the first Monday of every month, every quarter, again, however often you decide to send it to them, where now they can see what is our information that we're looking at. How many students have inquired within the past 3 months? How many students have applied? How many students have been accepted? Things like that. How many people are awaiting materials? What's the race and sex breakdown? What's the race per major breakdown? What's the sex per major breakdown? Things like that. So you can throw in your pivot tables. Let me add a couple other things in here. So we have our queries, we have our pivot table example. Let me throw in some data charts. Create a chart for sex, person scoped, and let's export. Let me not do it there. Let me just save. So let me throw in a data chart into this section. Maybe I want a pie chart to show the breakdown of sex. We can export sex here and save that. And if I go back to our main page, I should see, making a liar out of me. I think I forgot something. Missing values, sure. Pie chart. I do sex up here. Data column, I forgot that. Filter. Sex. Oh, she'll get her rating. Is that not what I want? I don't want sex there. I want ref ID. Just sex exists. Sex exists. Sex exists. 23 people have a sex that exists, and our exports here are going to be sex filter male. And another export. Female. Sure. Sex. Save. That doesn't look right. Let me start this one again. Sorry about that. Please. All right, so we're going to build a data chart. We're going to call this, we'll just do race because I know there are people with races. Person-based export. All right, so what are the exports we want in our data chart? We want to show race. Okay. And we're going to throw that in our data table, show null or missing values. Let's do a group by race, export race. That'll give me the list. And now I want it to be a chart, pie chart. All right, why aren't you working here? Occupational hazard of doing it live. Let's go into the reports real quick. Let's just see if I have a good example of campaign metrics. Ad test pinned. Weird. Okay. You can do charts. Well, I don't know why it's not working here. Let's try this one more time. Chart. I want to export my race. Just do a data team. Okay. So my metric is my race. My column is going to be my filter, race. Okay, so now we can see that one person's American Indian, 3 people are white, and so on. If I change this to a chart, that's what I wanted. Okay, I'll walk you through it again. So now we can see a chart on our list to say 42%, call 43% of our population is white, 14% is American Indian, and so on. So then you can see your percentage of your race breakdown. So what I ended up doing is I have a column called race that I'm showing here. So I'm exporting my race. And then if my race is any of these races, so literally all races. Then I'm putting into my chart type here an export of race because I want to count the number of races that we have and showing that in a pie chart. Now, if we go back to my report, you can see my race breakdown here. And again, we can go a little bit crazier and we can build out line charts and graphs and bar charts and, you know, all sorts of different charts if we'd like. Let's go person again. Bar chart, export, pick on race again, just because I know I have data in there. And let's do a bar chart. And save that. Bar chart's not really a good one for a race. But a good example for bar chart might be based on date of application. So you can see when were our high points of application, when were our low points. So you can use it for predictive modeling of when do we get our peak of applications. So that might be a good bar chart. Let's delete that one. Some other things you can do in the parts. So let me go back to my bar chart. Is you can add in header rows. So then if I come back, let me just do it this way so we can see it. I can see I have a header row, so I can throw a header row between certain sections. If I'd like to make it a little bit cleaner, I can throw in static content if I'd like. Let me go to another part here. Let's go here. Let's add in a header row. Race section, and then maybe I want some static content in here. This is a section about race. Throw a picture in if I really want. Throw a gem in there. Okay. Ooh, gem is really big. There we go. Refresh. Now I have my race section. I have some information about what this section is. I can throw pictures in there. So if I want to throw a picture of students or, a club or something like that, I can do that. And then have my data chart that talks about the race breakdown on campus. What are some other things in here? You can force a page break in here. So maybe I always want my race on a separate page when they export it into a PDF. So then if I were to run this, I would get my race section on a separate page because I told it to add in that page break. So you can add in page breaks, you can add in section titles, again, now you're just starting to make it pretty. But functionally, we have the different parts that I have here as my example. And again, for the pivot table, we allow our end users to make edits to it. So maybe I want to see the breakdown of Hispanic versus non-Hispanic to male and female, or person Hispanic to non-Hispanic to the race. So I can play around with this as the end user. So let's say I built this report. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of it in a moment. Let's say I built this report. I love it. And I'm saying, this is exactly what I want to send to my president every Monday. I can hit edit report and big edit. And I can throw in down here at the bottom to schedule my report to send, maybe weekly or monthly. Let's just say monthly. I put in my email addresses, either comma separated or semicolon separated. I don't want to get this every month, so I'm not going to do it. But I would put in my recipients. When do I want the report to start sending? Let's say January 1st, 2024. And maybe I want it to only go until August 1st, 2024. So I want it to send for this entire 8 months. And I want it to go in the morning on the first day of the month, between 10 and 12. Yes.
Have you found a way to repress a null file?
Request a null.
Sorry, repress, like not send if it's.
Oh, repress a null file. Sorry.
The funny thing is query, you can schedule an export and it totally has the option, but you can't schedule an email export. And report, you can schedule an email export, but you can't repress a null file from what I see. So
What report would you build that could potentially have null values?
Error reports.
Okay.
Which other than like looking at data and enrollment dashboards and stuff, that's the prime way that we utilize scheduled reports.
Good use case. I don't think there's a way to do it in reports because I think reports was initially built, and it's Technolution's philosophy, I think, to be here's a snapshot of our data at this moment in time versus an error report. Error reports I've usually built more as queries where a person is intentionally running them at a certain specific point in time, maybe daily, weekly, monthly, versus a report that's sent for me to look at and then do something with.
Have you found a way to schedule an email query report? Like,
Can't do an email query.
Okay.
So there's no way to do that. And again, that's intentional by Technolutions because they don't want you sending data potentially outside your organization. Reports are a little more benign because you can control that a little bit better. And reports are more a calculation of, we have 57 people interested in business, 72 people interested in physician assistant or whatever.
it was an ironic loop that we got in. We're like,
Yeah.
we can do it here with this, but not with this feature.
Yeah, so you guys you're using it in a way that it's not meant to be used, but it's not a bad way that you're using it. It's just, you're going to lose some functionality.
Thank you.
So,
Can't email, is there a way to,
You do like a SFTP export.
I'm thinking like making a public facing report where someone could go to a page and it's,
yes, so now you're talking about some real fun. You can put a report on a portal. So if you build a portal, you can put a report on a portal. There's a lot of ports going on, but you can build a report on a portal, have that locked down to a specific user or user group and say, all admissions counselors can access this portal, give them access to that portal. And now on a weekly basis, or your data processors on a weekly basis, they just open that portal and then they see the data that they want to see. And if it's null, it just shows up null and you don't have to worry about it. But it requires the end user to take action versus an email to say,
but that's.
it goes.
I mean, could schedule a deliver mailing and like rig it all up, but
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
But so you can do reports on portals. Where I found it's really beneficial to do reports on portals is for faculty. Because faculty don't check their email. I'm lucky if I even check my email. So faculty don't check their email. Faculty don't like to log into things like Slate. They're busy doing their own thing. But if you give them a portal, you can email them through a deliver mailing frequently and say, hey, it's the first of the month. Go check out your class list. Go check out your error report. Go check out whatever. Go to your portal. They click on that, they log in, and then they just see what you want them to see.
Like,
And then you can even go, this might be the result to your question. You could have on your email the filter that says, if this data exists, so kind of rebuild your query in your deliver query. So if this data exists, send the email. If it doesn't exist, don't send the email. That might be a way around it.
copying queries from the different functionalities would be so cool in that use case. We keep hitting that where like you have a rule that's going to drive the same query, and it would be cool if you could just move it. But
It would be cool.
I think that would be cool if it's coming down the pipe.
Yeah. I haven't heard of anything.
Me either.
So if you can get Alexander to do that, that would be really cool. Okay, so now we've built parts. We have our different sections here or our different parts within our query. Let me show you some other cool things that we can do here within our parts. I'm going to throw a data part in here, a data/chart part. Dr. Seuss over here. All right. So I'm going to have this data part called just data. And maybe I want some columns. So I can throw in some different columns. Maybe I want to throw in, I'm just think of some things I can do a calculation of. Let's go sex. If female. Save data column. It's always tough when you're dealing with a test instance because you get some wonky results. Maybe, and then my rows are going to be data, and we're going to call this name. Export, let's do name, and save that. So a little wonky data, but in this example here, now we see if you're a female, you get a count of 1. If you're a male, you get a count of 1. Again, it's only just giving a preview right now of the first couple. But if we go back to our example, of that, there it is. So we can see Obi-Wan is a female, Catherine's a female, and we have Albert Einstein's a male. I think that is. And Thor's a male, and for down the line. We can do then a calculation of different fields in here. So if we were go to edit report, I don't have GPAs. I wish I had GPAs in the system. Let's see if I can make it work the way I want it to. We can do percentages and add in or add different fields together. So let's say in this female column, we named the field at female. Wow. So we named the field at female. Same for male. We're going to give it a variable name of at male. We can have another column that would say, let's name it percent to male. And we can do a calculation in this variable. So we can do at female divided by at male. This is a weird example. At female, I think you have to do this first. Williams, that calculation, this is what I want, formula. At female divided by at male. And it's a 0 calculator. So it's gonna yell at me here. Olive. Comma 0. There we go. So now I can get my percentage. Again, weird example, but in this, a better example would be if my data row were instead of name, let's export term. Let's see if that gives us something. Okay. So if we look here, this is a little bit better example. If we look here, we can see in fall 2021, we had 1 female inquire. We had 0 males. And if we wanted to get our percentage of females to males, it's technically 0 because it's 1 divided by 0. So it's technically 0. If we were to, and spring, there's 0 females, 0 males. So again, I wish I had some better data to show here. Let's do female to male instead. Let's do female divided by 1. And we can see, we're going to make this a percentage. So it should show us 100% of our people here. Number, and this is going to be a percentage. So we can do calculations in here. Let me show you, what did I build for? I'm going to pick on USI here. Let me show you a real world example just so you can get an idea. One of the things that I like to build for people is a funnel report. So if we go to we're going to try not to show their actual data here. There we go. So if I were to edit our query, this is not the one that they're using. Matt, BCWTETW, edit query. So sorry, I really wish I had a good example here. 2023 deposits. That's a query. And for Columbia. See, did I build about one for Columbia? Works. Did not build one for you guys yet. All right. I don't have a good example, unfortunately, but we can do calculations. So what I like to do a lot of times is prospect inquiry applicant deposited. You guys don't take deposits or enrolled. So you may want different columns up here. So your metric would be term and your columns would be number of students. So this would be, instead of female, it would be current status is in prospect. So you get the count of how many are in prospect, count of how many are in inquiry, how many are in application. And between each, you can then look at your percentage of, to say, out of my total number of inquiries, how many of them became applicants? Out of my total number of applicants, how many of them ended up enrolling? And now you can look at your percentages across the line and say, wow, 70% of my inquiries end up becoming applications. And maybe 30% of my applicants end up actually enrolling. So then you can look at your percentages and report that out to your deans, your VPs, your board president, what have you. So sorry, I don't have some good examples in here, but you can do your calculations in here to show different variables and different calculations of variables. Another cool thing you can do here is within your metrics, you can bury and go down into sub areas. So maybe I want to show my name after the term. So if I were to come into my report again, and I click on fall 2021, I can see that Catherine is an applicant for fall 2021. If I click on 24, I can see Brian is an applicant or an interest in spring 24. So I can build multiple layers down and click through and look at my data. So then maybe even after this, I'm trying to think of some good real world examples. Edit report, let's throw in sex and race in there too, just because I know we have data in there for that. Sex and race. So let's do sex and race. So if I refresh, I can see in fall 2021, Catherine is a female. In 24, Brian has no sex. So if I click on him, I get no additional data. So again, we can add in a cascading list within our rows. Any questions about reports? It's one of those reports is that next level that once you're truly confident and competent in building queries, reports is going to be a little bit easier for you. It's one of those things that just get comfortable with queries first, then start to build some basic queries, just exporting data, just showing charts and graphs and things like that. And then get into building some funnel reports to show your actual enrollment funnel, your interest funnel, your inquiry funnel. You can do sections where you can show the number of students who have clicked on your website and looking at your ping data. So there's all sorts of types of reports that you can start utilizing. If you go into your clean slate environment at all, I believe there are some reports out there that you can suitcase in. Maybe not in this clean slate environment. But if you do one of the showcase environments, I believe there are some reports that you can port in. So you can take a look at that as well. I went through that a little bit quickly. So the last couple of things I want to show before we run out of time. Just check the calendar. Oh, 11 to 12, we're doing reports. We're ahead of schedule. Oh, boy. Okay, sorry. I thought we had something else going on.
That's good.
Wow. Okay, so it's rare that I'm ahead of schedule. It's mostly I'm behind. All right, so scratch that. The next thing I want to show you is putting a report on your dashboard. So within your instance, you have this, let's go to real live Slate. Within Slate, you have this section kind of below your little service status area, your Spirit shop, that you can edit. When you have events that are attached to you, you'll see your events listed here in kind of little blocks below. But you can edit and add in widgets into this whole section. So this is an area that I like to edit just to show some of the data that's relevant to me. We can filter it based on current user. So I may want to show a specific enrollment report that's just for my territory, if I'm a territory manager. So I may look at it and say, wow, I have 72% of my applicants are from this one high school. I have, 50% of the students from this one high school are male, the other 50% are female. 20% of the students from this high school are interested in business, 30% of the students are interested in nursing or whatever you'd like. So you can show whatever statistics and reports and queries down here on the dashboard. You also can show in the reader, just pick on this one. On the reader dashboard here, this big white space, you can edit this with any kind of reports and statistics that you'd like. How many people were reviewed today? How many people were reviewed by Matt today? How many people have been accepted? Percent, maybe you want a graph of percent that were accepted versus are still awaiting submission. So you can edit any kind of graphs and charts in this section. So to do that, we are going to build a portal. No, I lied. We just went through this. We can build a query. Which one did we just look at? It was our dashboard test. There we go. So we're going to build a query. And this is a big example. I don't want to go too deep into that. Let's build a very simple dashboard. So if we go into queries, we're going to save it in a folder. And I just wanted to pull this up just for viewing purposes. We're going to save our new query in a folder called System and Homepage. So if we go into a new query.
Is it a query or a report?
Did I say query? I think I meant report. I'm sorry. It's a report. We want to save the report, I'm sorry, in a folder called System and Homepage. We're in the reports section. I should have said reports. So we're going to open up a new report. We're going to create that and say Matt's homepage report. I'm going to put it in a folder called System and Homepage and save that. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in any of the queries, data charts, anything like that. Let me throw in, I like Data Explorer. So I'm going to throw this. And I'm building a very simple query here. We're going to pull in, what do we would like here? Sex and race, I think we did before. We're going to pull in sex and race and save that as our data. So now if I go into my homepage again, you'll see I get a little tab here at the top. You will probably only see one tab because I have this other one, but you'll see a little tab here, which will list any of the data on my report. I forgot to actually build my thing here. So let's go back to that, refresh. So now I have on my tab called Matt's Homepage Report, I have my pivot table that I can start messing with. And I can see my sex to race breakdown right here on my dashboard. So again, this is where I would just have you be cautious about how big you build things, because the more stuff you build here on your report, the longer it's going to take to run. So if I built 10 different parts, I can keep scrolling down, but each part's going to take some time to run. So just be cautious of what you're building. But for the homepage reports, I personally really like the pivot tables, just because it gives your end user something to play with and get the data that they want. So you can throw in your exports a whole bunch of things that they may want on a daily basis. And then it gives them the opportunity to move that around and get the data that they would like.
So the folder should be system.
Yes, so your folder is system and then homepage is your
I don't
subfolder.
get a system. Under
You
folder.
may not have the security access for that. That might be the issue.
Might also not be created yet.
Yeah, let's try that actually. Try going other and creating a folder just called system. And then create a subfolder called homepage.
System.
And then other homepage.
Other, okay. No matter how it is, it's lowercase or is it gotta be?
Do capital H. That should be the best there. So it should look like that. Sorry, I'll zoom in too. And the nice thing about putting this on the dashboard is going back to our friends at Ball State is now instead of having to email this to your data processors or things like that, you can put it on their dashboard. And now when they log in, they could just look at it and say, oh, I have 72 people in my error report. I have to go fix these 72 people. Did that work for you?
Well, I'm trying to.
Oh, okay, got it.
If we build that, it just puts it on our slate, right? Or does it
This
put it on
is on
everybody?
everybody's. So this is where then it gets into editing permissions. So you can edit permissions and say only the people with the role of, I don't know, sales team can see it, or only people with the role of data processors or recruiters, or only Matt can see this one because this is the president's report. Matt's our president. Only he can see this on his dashboard. Only the dean of admissions can see this data. So now we built this report to show all data within our system. But if I wanted to filter it, I could filter this and say, maybe my staff assigned. This is advancement staff assigned, but we'll do that. So my advancement staff assigned is current user. User, date, identity date. Advancement staff assigned user, join advancement staff assigned user, and filter on user. There, that's what I want. User equals current user. So I can filter on current user. So if I'm the advancement staff assigned, I didn't do it here, but because it's, I don't have anybody that's assigned to me. But if I'm the advancement staff assigned for 72 people, I'm going to see only my 72 people out of the 4,300 people in our instance. So by putting it as your staff assigned, now you're able to say, these are Matt's people, these are Sally's people. When Sally logs in, she only sees her numbers. When Matt logs in, he only sees his numbers. So that's really where having a staff assigned is going to be beneficial to you going forward.
That did work.
It did. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like you have to create the system folder first and then homepage. All right. So that is putting a report on your dashboard. And again, you can build it out however exciting you want to build it out. I could take this whole Matt test one and throw this on my dashboard. So if I edit report, big edit, I could throw this in our system and homepage. Now, if I refresh my dashboard, I get a new tab called TBR example. And I see this whole report that I just created. Be conservative with this. Don't go too crazy with lots of tabs, lots of sections, things like that. We have some schools that use these tabs for some helpful information as well. So they may create a part that is a, what is it, a data chart, I think. Let's just, let me create a whole new one. I'm just going to call it report. New report, new example. I'm going to throw it in the system homepage. Save. And maybe I want to throw in section called help. Paste. And maybe I just want to throw in some just static content. Um, I've had schools use it where they create kind of a help section or a self-help. And you can get as wild and crazy as you like. So I created this little self-help section. So now if I go back to my main page and I refresh, I get my new example tab. You can call it help or whatever you'd like. And now I have links in here. So I can force somebody to go to AOL if they have questions. They can go to AOL, or they can view different videos. Or if you have a security request form, you can put that security request form on here. So now they're not having to go to an external portal. You're putting it all here on their main dashboard. They just go to the help section tab, click on the form, and now they can fill out your IT help form. You could put in, you can get as wild and crazy as you'd like. You could put in information on that links back to the knowledge base and say, here are some helpful knowledge base articles, and put them all in here. So again, it's all about how you want to build it. So even though we're building a report, we're really just kind of building a portal, if you will, but within this Slate infrastructure. So I can click through now. I can see, this is an advanced one. I won't show you that yet. I can see my my homepage portal. What is this called? Pivot table again. I can play with that. I can see my TBR example stuff, and I can see then my help desk area where I can go to AOL, go to Hotmail, go to SigCore, and things like that.
Do your reports run when the homepage is loaded or when the tab is loaded?
Every time that this page is refreshed, it will run.
So if you have a lot of very intensive reports, it's actually running all of them when you hit the page.
It is. So that's where I would say be conservative with it. Don't build crazy reports on here. Try to be as basic as possible, but fitting your end user's need. So like this TBR one, I would say is probably way too, it's not way too big, but it's probably not the right kind of data to be showing on this tab. It's probably something to be either putting in a portal for an end user or putting it on a scheduled report to send to the end user at a specific time. That way they get a PDF, they see the static information. Things I would put in here are more just queries like maybe your race chart, how many people I need to read today, how many people should I be calling today, things like that. And then utilizing the cascading list as well. That's going to keep your data a little bit cleaner too. So you can see how many people in fall 21 do I have? How many people in fall 21 are, what would I put here? Maybe prospects and need phone calls or something like that. And then I can kind of cascade through. But wanted to show that you can get really crazy. So this dashboard test, we've used HTML in here to link it to a portal. So this is technically a portal that sits behind the scenes that has tabs, that has data tables, it has accordions that we can open up. We can see materials that a specific student has. So I'm on Catherine's record right now. So I can see Catherine's materials without actually going to Catherine's record. I can see resources. This is kind of what I was showing before, where you have portal redirects, different resources that you can have on tabs. And it's its own tab here. So you can then have other reports show, and you can then drill into different sections.
That's
Of
awesome.
your portal. So it's all about how wild and crazy you want to get. So let me show you.
We're having tabs for the homepage get really muddy, like too many. So that was all under one tab. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that really kind of cleans things up a little bit. Where's that portal one? I just did.
Suitcase it to me.
I'll take that too.
Dashboard test. It's called dashboard test. Let me show you what it looks like. It's actually some very basic HTML. So if we edit our report, and again, it's just a static content part. And we click into that part. So your HTML is pretty basic. It's literally just running the script to say, go to this portal or show this portal. So if we look at the portal components portal that we have in our portal section, then that's where all the magic happens. So all we're doing in the report is say, load this script to load the portal and display it there. So that if we go to our portals, are you trying to copy it? I can even send that out in the and it'll be in the recording, so you can
Yeah.
pause it and take a look.
That block code.
But if you look at your portal components, then this is everything that's behind that that portal. So we have our home page, but then we have all these pop-ups and sub-tabs and tabs that are running the accordions and the data tables and everything that's behind it. So if we look at our accordion, for example, here's our block code in our accordion, and that matches up to data table. What was it? Our accordion. Here's our block code and our accordion, and then it references sub portals or sub tabs. So that's if you want to get really advanced. But it's kind of a neat way to display different information that's not necessarily reports, can be. So it could be data exports like our data tables. You can have sortable data exports where I can sort it by status, name. I can have it searchable, or I can look for Yoda. So now I'm kind of running Slate inside of Slate, if you will. So you're kind of getting into some Inception world where I'm looking for Yoda in my portal tab, and I'm not really looking for him up here. So if you have somebody with very limited access and you don't want to train them necessarily on running Slate, they can either go directly to this portal or they can go, let me actually go to that portal too. So they can go directly to this portal and they can basically be running Slate right from this portal. Or you can display a portal in a report on your dashboard. So this is usually helpful for people like faculty members. So giving them a portal where they can go and do a searchable list, because now you're controlling what they can see. They're searching the database, but now you're giving them access to look for Yoda. And this one's not applicable, but we can do like a unique hyperlink and we can click on Yoda's record and show them information about Yoda that we want them to see. So now we're kind of getting into the portals discussion, but this is really helpful for faculty members because they don't want to take the time to learn Slate. And you don't want to take the time to.
Yeah.
So literally every 6 months, they're going to call you and go, you know, that Slate thing that I'm supposed to sign into, you know, is it Granite? Is it Slate? What's it called? You know, how do I go into it? And you go to this link, just click on this link and do what I'm telling you here, rather than go into Slate, log in using your SSO, do this, do that. And it gets them a little confused. So you're kind of building Slate outside of Slate in a portal.
That'll go straight.
So super cool stuff.
But a better case for end users, like our own internal staff that are using Slate, would be to have that homepage portal, right? Rather than have them go to a portal itself.
For your internal users that are using Slate on a daily basis,
Yeah. That will.
I would say start with just a report. Don't go the portal route yet,
Yeah.
unless you really want to. But go with a report first and just throw in like a Matt's homepage report. You know, you can call this just pivot table report or something like that. Or, you know, have your list, your query list or something like that. Start with some basic reports that are useful for your end users. Then when you feel like you've exhausted all of this and like your help tab, so then you have some information for them to start using. When you feel like you're comfortable with that, then I might build a portal, maybe even just a very basic portal that says, we're going to show this report on this portal. We're going to show this query on this portal. We're going to do a searchable list on this portal or something like that. And then build your portal into the report And that's kind of your next level. So your 1.0 level would be start with something very basic like this. Your 2.0 level would be adding multiple tabs and then just seeing what your end users are using, what they're not using, how comfortable they are with things. And then your 3.0 level would be building a whole portal out and putting it on your tab. So start small. So don't try to run before you can walk. You're just going to fall and it's going to hurt. So build out some very simple stuff. Make sure it's usable for your end user.
3.0. I got them using reports already, Jim.
Not driving the Ferrari, she's pulling the cooling rods out of the nuclear reactors.
Exactly. You don't want to yank it too fast or the whole thing's going to melt down. So yes.
Why don't you want to yank it? Never mind.
Why don't you start them off with the
Wasn't that bad.
So a couple of questions that are tangential to this. One, and really it's more about the students. As far as tabs are concerned, we've been trying to find a way to hide application tabs, because the nature of our student is they apply over and over and over again, and we don't necessarily want to purge the data for a while. So we'll have students, even just students that are dual enrollment and then come back as freshmen, and maybe they had to readmit somewhere in the middle because they were a junior one semester and then a senior one semester and a freshman. So we're trying to hide some of those. And then also, I know you and I talked yesterday about the fact that you edited the primary dashboard, but it looked like you did something similar on the application. And I don't know how to do the application dashboard. Yeah, the major term
section.
Yeah, we actually have an additional link on the side that exposes the banner translations from the Slate application. But I don't know how to put those on the main page to save us some clicking.
Yeah.
I would not do that without permission from my application processing folks, because I don't want to die in the parking lot.
So you're scared of them.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Let me tell you, if one of us does something in Slate, it takes generally less than 15 minutes before we get a phone call or a Teams asking us.
Did you click?
Why is my thing messed up now?
Yeah. Or why does it look different? Or yeah.
Let's save that for tomorrow. Are you around tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's save that for tomorrow. That's going to be in customizing your database with dashboards and tables. So that's where we'll talk about creating these. But yes. So you can create tabs, which you would be able to, I don't know what this actually does. Yeah, so you can change their admit types, change their student type all in there, but you don't want people to have to click on this to see their admit type and their student type. We want that displayed up here to make it more user friendly. So on Friday, it's tomorrow, Thursday. So on Thursday, we'll talk about updating your person dashboard, updating your application dashboard, and kind of taking it to that next level.
Okay.
So, but yeah, save that for tomorrow. We'll definitely talk about that. So the reports section, I'll call it, that we just talked about here. This is to help your staff members with a global picture of either their enrollment funnel, their tasks, their error reports, whatever. This is going to be kind of unique to either your end user or what you want to display to your end user that has access to Slate. Things like we were just talking about here is on our record. This is what you want your end user to see specifically to a student on the student's record. And we'll talk about that for Thursday. Other questions? But definitely play around. Again, build it and test. Don't build in prod, because you'll get your end users calling you up and saying, why does my thing now have this whole report on it? I don't like it, take it away. Or did I do something wrong that now I'm seeing all this information? So I would go through and test, build out some reports, maybe have a couple end users try it out, make sure it is what they want. It's giving them the information they want. Try filtering it based on staff assigned or current user or things like that, if there's a user assigned to the data. And then I personally do like the
like the help desk tab as well, just to give them some additional information. And again, everything on here can be edited with HTML. So you can make this look as pretty or as basic as you want. Right now, it's very, very basic. But you can throw these in bubbles, you can throw them in sections within your view based on however good you are with HTML and creating that. So it's all about how crazy you want to get. Start basic. Don't go too crazy yet. Don't yank that uranium out of the reactor yet. So, but I personally like at least 2 tabs. You know, you have your reports tab and then you have your little help desk tab that if you have questions, call your Slate administrator and have your Slate administrator's phone number and email address here. Somebody that's not you, give it to somebody else. You have tech questions. Here's the help desk's link. Click here to file a help desk report. If you want to contact Matt, call him at SIG and have Matt's phone number on here, you know, whatever you'd like. Good queries. So some cool things that you can play around with. All right, because I thought we were behind schedule, we're actually half hour ahead of schedule. Any questions, anything you want me to specifically help you with? Anything that we covered over the past 2 days that you want me to go over or kind of reconvene?
Yeah, we want you to show us how to change the reference on the checklist where it says reference and we want to say dual enrollment thingy.
I meant to look that up last night. I was going to write that down for you. Okay, how to change the reference on the checklist. I think, good question on that. One thing. Place default checklist items for system materials. All right, it is this article. So if you look up the article for replace default checklist items for system materials, and you scroll down about halfway, it's not transcripts. It is, this is one I always have to look up. It's in the references section. So instead of it saying recommendation Dumbledore, you can have it say like teacher recommendation 1. So for the school that I did it for, I had it just saying parent authorization. I think I called it something like that because there was only 1 needed. So we didn't have to have a 1, 2 or anything like that. So to do that, you would create your checklist item. Be status inactive, person application scoped. You'd enter your group name and your section is the reference special use only. And that's where then you can name it within the subject. Let's see, creating custom recommender checklist items, and then you'll end up creating your subject of like letter of recommendation 1 of 2, parent authorization form, something like that. But this article should help you out with it.
All right, thank you.
So this is one of those that it was updated not too long ago, and it's pretty valid still, that nothing has really changed. But that's going to be the default.
You use that to edit the one that goes on systematically, or you use this as an additional and then use the rule to suppress the system
This
one?
overwrites the systematically one, or the auto one that gets populated.
Yeah, so this is one of those that when you insert something or deactivate something, it turns off the default value and okay.
Yeah, so this turns off the standard functionality and overwrites it with whatever you're putting in.
Gotcha.
So just be careful using this. So if you do have recommendations that are actual recommendations, and then you have recommendations that are parent authorizations, and you want to rename the parent one, but not the actual recommendations, you may want to think about having different rounds. Yes, you may want to think about having different rounds and then having your filter. Oh boy, I may want to think that one through.
We don't have recommendations like
Oh.
traditionally running through, but I am nervous about the ones that are currently sitting out there for parent and counselor and then doing this. I don't know. I tend to have a lot of unintended consequences to my fixes.
Which is why the process.
Fixes this, breaks, a lot of things I didn't think it would break.
Do it in test first. Or actually what I like even better than test, I like time warp. So especially if you're doing something like that where it's kind of live and you want to look at your live data and not have to refresh test, and then you break something and you have to refresh test again, do time warp because you only have that lease for 96 hours, but you're looking at it with almost live data. And then you can see what are the impacts that are going to happen. And if you don't like it, you just refresh it, you get it in 3 hours and you're not messing with your test instance. So I would do it in time warp.
Thank you.
So yeah, thanks for reminding me on that. I forgot to share that with the group.
Where you had your address rank and you added that at the bottom, is that global? So everyone in your instance or just yours?
Great question. It was asked before, I answered it one-on-one, but I'll answer it for the group. So the question was on the profile tab and really kind of anywhere. Just going to pick on addresses because that's where I showed it. If you have this slider, so you can edit on this slider anything that you see in the section above it. Or I think sometimes the section below it. Here's the addresses below. Okay, so let's say on the address, let's say on the contact side, we wanted to show rank or something like that. I could hit this little slider and say customize view. And I can add in any other exports that I'd like. So maybe I want device rank, updated date, and notes. I don't know. I really want that information. So I can see my device rank, my updated date, and my device notes. I'm putting it in here. By doing that, I'm only doing it for myself. So this is my default device. I'm doing it just for myself. If I wanted to edit this for everybody, if I have the right access, which you all probably do, your end users might not, then I can edit shared views and hit edit here. And then I can throw this on for everybody. If I want everybody to see rank, type, nodes, whatever I just picked before. I can change that for then everybody. So by just doing it on the slider, you're doing it for yourself. You're not messing up anybody else. But good question. Other questions? Where I said before, now we're getting into security a little bit. Active users, we'll look at myself. So where I said that if you have the right access, it's in your permissions side of it. It's called shared views, I think, or views, or manage shared views. Of course, they have to write the word manage in front. So if I have access to manage shared views, that would allow me to change it for other people. So what happens if you're a name? So if you're constantly getting a question from your data processors or your end users, and they're like, hey, I really want to see what the rank address is or the rank of the school or whatever information, you can, if you have managed shared views, you can go and edit that and show it for everybody. Another cool thing with that, just like Slate, there's always, but wait, there's more. So another cool thing within the managed shared views, I go back to my profile, where was I, address. I can have multiple views in my library. So I can have my default view, but maybe I have like a data processor view and an admissions counselor view, because maybe the data processors really want to see only specific information, or they only want to see the rank 1 address and you don't want to show them the rank 2 or the rank 3 address. So you can create a specific view just for that information. So you have some fun stuff that you can do there. Anything else? Yes.
This might be specific, but we're having data storage issues when a person submits for Safari. So I think specifically this is a widget. So it's education history. They're logging their school. But the pop-up will show. It'll let them search the student database. It'll let them save, but it doesn't stick. So if they submit with Safari, that can tend to drop off. Have you heard of schools having issues with browsers that?
Never heard of that. I might want to look at your form, like your widget form. Are you asking for like school 1, school 2, school 3, school 4?
it's looking for high school and college. Both are having the issue. So it's like a school widget on top of a application form. And then it's in the application. And like I said, functionally, it all shows fine. It just doesn't actually hold the row.
It might be an issue with your widget, with the form, with your widget form. It might not be. But it's working for like Firefox and Chrome.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, then it's not that.
It's like randomly, it doesn't go in, but it meets the submission conditions. So they're able to apply. We just don't have a school for them. And we're finding the common denominator to be Safari. And we've been able to replicate the problem in Safari. We just don't know how to fix the problem.
4 tabs.
That's your or iOS.
Desktop. But Mac was at some point having a similar issue.
I'd put in a ticket to Technolutions on that one. I'd throw that or throw it out into the, what are they called, community forums.
That's what they'll tell you to do anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by ticket. I'm used to saying put in a ticket and then they've changed it now to just go to the community forums. But I put into the community forums and just see if anybody has a fix.
I know it was a long shot. I just didn't know if working with a bunch of different schools, if you'd
Never
seen
heard of
that.
that one.
Okay.
My go-to is just don't use Safari, but I'm a Google person or Firefox at the very worst, but I'm not a Safari person.
Actually, I've been using Edge on the Mac just because we're a Microsoft shop here.
Yeah.
so.
I haven't gotten used to Edge yet.
It's
I'm
got lots of junk in there.
That's the thing I don't like, and it's just set up differently than other browsers. I think just because they could, so they did, and I'm just not a fan of like where everything is in Edge. But that's an interesting way. I put it on the community forums though, because if Alexander sees that or somebody sees that at Technolutions, they'll push out a fix or something like that. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Anything else? Well, if we want to do lunch early, we can do that. You get a little extra time for lunch. We'll come back right around 1 o'clock. What's our schedule looking like? Come back right around 1 o'clock. We'll talk about Deliver. We'll talk about mass mailing and texting. The reason why we're doing Deliver this afternoon is because now we've done all the query training. So now you know how to write a query. We're going to add that into Deliver, and then we're going to utilize that. Oh, the only thing I didn't show you, I'll just mention, and we can talk about it maybe when we get into Deliver, is the query called Merge Public. I don't know if any of you have touched that yet. So if you create a query called Merge Public, and I'd have to look up the specific criteria for it, I'll look it up over lunch. You can then export any additional information that you want from your database into your decision letters or any kind of external letters. So there's a lot of times that people will say, we want to put in our decision letter scholarship amount or something like that, but you don't see it in the right-hand side in your decision letters. If you build it in Merge Public, you can then utilize that export value and put it in any letter, any portal, anything like that that's public facing.
So a merge public query it enables a merge field in every Deliver mailing by default. Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So. Looking at merge field system emails and Deliver form payment. Of course, Technolutions doesn't make it easy to find it. I'll try to find it over lunch, but yeah, if you create a field or a export called Merge Public, there's a way you have to save it. I think you have to save it in system. I think I want to find the specifics on that, but you can grab that data and utilize it. So I forgot to cover that on the query trading, but Merge Public is going to save you a lot of time and hassle as well. There we go. Merge Public for just, it is a system. So I want to double check that. So if you save it in the system folder and have the system key of Merge Public, I said call it Merge Public, I usually do. But if you have the system key of Merge Public and you save it in the system folder, you can then access any of your exports like full name term, recharge title, any of this data, banner ID, you can access any of that and put it into your decision letters. So I'll leave that up. But that's gonna be helpful for you too. All right, let's grab lunch and we'll go from there.
I figured it out, Tim. What's that? I'm excited. Oh, you figured it out. Yeah, it's successful. This straight out.
Might have been-